What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Real Down. I'm your host, Jimmy Skinner, and with me, as I would say always, but as sometimes,
Yeah. It's been
Daddy
about a
G.
month or so since we've been on a show together,
I
seems
don't know
like.
if we've done one together since iCast. I can't remember. I think maybe we've done one.
Yeah, maybe the one, I can't even remember which one. Oh, the one with Vinny for the other
Oh
No
yeah,
Limit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's been weird. Like sick, injured, busy, repeat.
Babies.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, babies. How's that going, by the way?
It's going. I still feel like I'm adjusting. It's been hard to figure out how to balance work, babies, fishing, other stuff. Like it's a lot. But
Yeah, you just got to take the fishing out of it.
yeah. It's
That's
pretty much how it's gone.
so like I've got one due in November, but I haven't been doing any fishing. I have not fished since the week before I cast, so
Mm,
I don't even remember how. But
yeah.
which I can't anyway because like I broke my wrist, so it's
Yeah, it might be a little difficult to
yeah. I'm getting there though.
maybe throw a spinning rod, but
I'm getting I'm getting the motion back. Like this hurts, and like anything with my wrist bent upwards like that, I can't
mm,
have weight on it. But we're getting close. I try to use it a little bit each day, just kind of rehab.
yeah.
Um, not do nothing crazy. Done pretty good about not like I've only like reheard it like twice, and both of them were just like completely accidental, and nothing you could do about it.
Did you tell the show the story of how you heard it?
No, I didn't. I don't think so.
Yeah. You
Uh,
should definitely go tell.
yeah. So, working with my new boss, and we were taking a break from working in the shop making parts, and he had some trees that came down, and we were gonna clean them up. So he hooked up a little trailer, like a little bitty like sod trailer, and I mean tiny. This thing is like 3 feet long to his lawnmower, and we load everything up in there, and we take it to the road.
Yeah.
Well, we did this like the week before, and he kept telling me just jump in the trailer and ride back there, and I was like, no, I'll walk. It's fine. Well, this time the tree is like at one end of the property and the driveway is at the other. So I was like, screw it, I'll jump in the back. So first trip, that was fine. Second trip, me and him acting like 10-year-olds. I say me and him. I didn't do anything wrong. Um, we unload it. I
Yeah.
jump in the back,
Okay.
and
You,
he like does a little like quick S to like shake it. And as he does that, I realize it's coming off the ground when he does it. And before I can say like stop or anything, he makes the like fastest turn to the right at a full 90 degrees, and the trailer just flipped, and it like he just yucked me out of it.
ejected you. It's
And I
like somebody on a jet ski. How they like will try to throw people off
literally,
of it.
dude, like, just high-sided me like hell, and,
Yeah.
I tried, like so when it started to tip over and I knew it was coming over, I tried to, like, jump to, like, get over the sides and, like, try to, like, straighten up and get on my feet, and, never even got close, like, because, again, small trailer, it's, like, so low to the ground that all I did was, like, speed up my impact speed,
Yeah.
and I landed flat on my wrist, and, like, I flipped over, both my legs, like, slung into his brick mailbox, and
Mm.
so
You're
I'm
like
just laying in the
scorpion.
road laughing and, like, "Okay, I'm gonna get up." So I get up, and as soon as I get up and my arm goes down by my side, like, all the pain set in. And, like, I've never broke a bone before this, like, had a bunch of bad sprains and hyperextensions, and, like, I knew it was worse than that and was just like, "Oh, this isn't funny." Like, this is my right hand, this is I do everything with this. Like 95% of my job is with power tools with my right hand that you can't run left-handed. And
Mm.
it's been an
Have you
interesting
learned how to
adjustment.
do anything new left-handed since then?
Well, I'm pretty ambidextrous, like
Yeah.
naturally. So like everybody makes jokes like, "Oh, you can't wipe your ass with your left hand." Like I literally can do just about anything in my life other than like throw a football with my left hand.
Yeah.
And so it honestly it's not been that bad, but like I said, the power tools and stuff for work, like if you run them left-handed, it throws all of the debris in your face because they are rotational tools
Yeah.
like grinders. You can't reverse the rotation. So it's like sure you can
Man,
use
that
it
would
with your left
suck.
hand,
I
but
never
you
really
can't.
thought about that. It'd be terrible to be like any kind of carpenter or anything left-handed. Like,
Yeah. I tried, like I did. I was like, well, I'll grab one, I'll clamp the part to the table so I don't have to hold it, and I'll try it. And like, as soon as it strikes metal, it's like, I mean, you're wearing protective gear, but it still just beats you up, like your
yeah,
shirt. And I
can't
was
see where you're doing and all that.
like, no, don't even try. It's not worth it. So, but other than that, I mean, it's just been annoying, but it's almost over, thank God. Uh,
Good.
but
You get
you know,
there.
hopefully, hopefully get to do. If I get to fish, I think it'll be like end of this month, uh, at soonest.
That's
So
like my last tournament of the year is the end of this month, and then I basically plan on just taking kind of a chill break for a little bit,
plan
help
on
with the
it,
kid.
aka the wife said you're done. I
No,
understand, sir.
that's more self inflicted. I've been doing terrible at the last couple tournaments I've been to, and I think I just need a second to like reevaluate what I'm doing and kind of get my shit together a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, today's show is we're going to talk to two guys that have their shit together, and
Yeah. Yeah, they seem
this
to
is
have figured something out.
yeah, definitely, and really cool. This is the furthest out west show we've done. We've done a bunch of I mean, I guess if you go by like mileage from where we are, parts of California probably are further, but no one cares. But
Yeah.
this is a new one for us. Um, and there was some monster fish caught at this one, but we're covering the native no limits. Let me say it right. The native no limits big bass power hour on, and I'm probably going to butcher how you pronounce this. Umatilla.
It yeah, it just says Columbia River on the event page, but
On Tourney X, it
yeah.
says the Columbia River and Lake Umatilla. And it was also a kind of a double dip event with the OKBF and WKBF, which I'm assuming is Oregon Kayak Bass Fishing and Washington Kayak Bass Fishing. And there it says Columbia River, Lake
And
Umatilla as
Kayak
well.
Fishing Northwest series, I guess.
Everybody and their mama was out here.
Yeah.
But let's just bring these guys in and let them tell us about it. So we'll start. We have the no limit overall winner, Citha. What's going on, man?
Hey,
And then the winner of the other joint event, Josh Duggar. What's going on, fellas?
hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Good to have you
Yeah.
guys. Glad to get some people from out west on here. I feel like it's been neglected this year. It seems like.
I feel like it's like 4 o'clock there, but I know that's not right. It's probably like 6.
Yeah, it's 6.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Well, welcome to the show. First time for both of y'all being on. Either of y'all listeners?
As of 2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
Awesome.
that's what it
I mean,
takes. So I actually said something about that in the last episode I did. Like, I remember I was approached to be on the show for an episode before I really knew what it was. So if that's what it takes to get the word out there, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But um,
Yeah,
now
I
you can spread the word.
always tell people, the Pacific Northwest is like 3 to 5 years behind everyone else when it comes to kayak fishing.
That's
yep.
the
We
way Alabama felt.
started a lot later, so like a lot of these podcasts and everything, they just haven't made it up there yet. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully this will help kind of spread that and build some more excitement up here.
Well, heck
Yeah,
yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
for
We've been
any
seeing a
new
lot of
listeners,
we've been seeing a lot of big events and stuff happening out there this year that ran through with our recaps, but and I think every time I'm like, man, we should get somebody on from out there because it's usually some kind of like big 90 something inch limit that wins it. I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming out of
and
Washington or Oregon.
these shows, honestly, we usually have the best response with. Like, I remember the first time we covered, what is it, the Ontario Kayak Bass Fishing Group in Canada, and nobody thinks about bass fishing in Canada. I mean, maybe like some of the lakes that share, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But those have always been good, and like like he just said, those guys have been putting up like 98-inch plus bags this year just consistently, and it just it's something new for everybody to listen to. But for any new listeners that listen to this one that came here because of you guys, welcome, and share it up. And we do this every Thursday. This is the Reel Down. This is tournament recap. If you're new to the Paddle and Fin Network, we are a network of kayak fishing podcasts. We got a little bit of everybody. Bass fishing for noobs. We got gear shows about to come back. OG show. We just talked to everybody in the kayak fishing industry, and then get your tournament fixed with us. So, but again, appreciate y'all coming on. But go ahead and Josh, we'll let you start first. Introduce yourself to everybody that doesn't know you. Everybody on the East Coast that listens to us all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm Josh. I started, my kayak fishing back in, I think it was the fall of 2018. I turned out for a tournament in Central Washington. Just fished out of the kayak that my mom had. It was like a little recreational 10-foot Costco
Of
special.
course.
I think it was on sale like $150. Just had
It's
all
like
the works.
that's almost all of our origin stories.
Yeah.
That's now look at
So
us.
went out there as a 2-day tournament. Fishing conditions were horrible. I mean, there was, just a handful of fish caught. Ended up taking third, and I was like, well, yeah, this is going to control my life now. So that winter, I bought a used Pro Angler 12. Ran that for a year doing tournaments. Jumped over to an Old Town topwater. Ran that for a year. Jumped into a new canoe. Ran that for a year, and now I've been in a Titan. Ran that the last 2 years.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think this is does that make it year 5 of doing this?
Nice.
But
Yeah, it's pretty consistent.
mostly just the Washington, Idaho, Oregon. Been down to California once, but the unfortunate part of being up in Washington is it is a long drive to get anywhere.
I was fixing to say it is a haul for y'all to do anything.
Yeah, especially when you're on the left side of the state up against the ocean. You got to cross the state just to even start going somewhere. So
Well,
Is there
it's far fetched, but new canoes out from that way.
yeah, they're actually just north of us, maybe an hour and a half.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. Is there any saltwater fishing up there that you can do from a kayak?
Oh yeah, we have guys that go out for halibut, rockfish,
Wow.
lingcod,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
salmon.
Salmon.
Pretty much everything. Squid. We get squid that run through the sound here. It's a pretty popular one for kayak fishermen.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That sounds interesting.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
Maybe we can connect y'all with we have a saltwater segment too. Connect to you guys, or if y'all know anybody out there that's got some experience with that. He mostly covers like the Gulf stuff because that's what he does. But that'd be a fun show to just a completely different take on it. But
one of our tournament directors would be a good guy to bring on for the saltwater. He fishes it quite a bit, so
heck yeah. Well,
I can definitely get you connected.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards for sure.
Perfect.
Well, Citha, what about you, man?
Well, I'm up here not too far from Josh. I'm in Kirkland, and I started from the bank. I always wanted to bass fish. I was more of a salmon steelhead guy. That's from the Pacific Northwest. That's pretty big here. Every year the numbers start declining, so I was like, well, I gotta find something else to keep me busy, right? So I started, YouTubing and seeing a lot of kayak fishing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I know a few lakes that are close. Started with a float tube, but then I was like, okay, well,
that seems to be a popular thing on the West Coast is the float tubes.
So in one outing, I got stuck in the lake, and I had to go to the bathroom. And I was like, oh boy, that's a long ways to the bank. So after that day, I was like, okay, well, I should probably start looking into a kayak. Didn't really look into the tournament scene yet. I think my first kayak was a Feel Free Lure 11.5.
Hey, me too.
Nice.
Yeah, and the only reason why I got it because just in case I wanted to get into competition, I could put a pedal drive in there. So I took it out for about 6 months, and I was like, okay, I like this, and then started looking more into the local tournaments, and I was like, okay, yeah, I should probably get something to go a little faster, and got a pedal drive, and I think I started into the fall of 2019 as well, so about a year later than Josh did. About a year of that, I was like, okay, well, this is what I want to do for a long time, so upgraded to a Hobie Outback, much faster kayak.
Oh yeah.
And like, up here in the Northwest, that's made to go offshore too. So I wanted to do some salmon and fishing and whatnot and get out into the sound.
Yeah.
Never really got to it. I just got addicted to bass fishing. I started exploring the lakes around here, and man, ever since then, I've been stuck.
It's so funny that like bass fishing just grabs a hold of you a different way. And I think it's because, in my opinion, and like my little fact to this would be like, I know saltwater fishing is hard and there's a lot of, a lot of knowledge to it, but it's kind of like throw some bait out there and you're probably going to catch something. Like when it comes to bass fishing, it's like, for that, people consider like, oh, smallmouth are stupid, and like, well, have you ever really tried to fish for them? Because they're not. Like,
Have you ever tried to catch 5 of them in a day and when you
yeah,
need to?
yeah. It's a different level of difficulty that I think just like really hooks a lot of people in.
Yeah, yeah. My big draw to it was getting away from using bait. To be honest, there's a few times where I salmon fished and I left bait in the truck for a good week or two, and that didn't sit too well. So,
Oh
Yeah.
God,
You have to buy a new truck after that.
yeah,
just
exactly.
burn that one right off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last year is when I upgraded to my PA 14 360, and I haven't looked back since. It's a heavy son of a, but it's definitely
Yeah.
it's worth it when I get on the water. That's for sure.
That's like the only time I like it. It's like
Yep.
when it's not in the water, I walk by it every day in the carport, and I'm just like, fuck you, you big heavy piece of plastic.
You gotta start pumping some weights, and then you can throw that thing around.
Yeah, I'm not getting any younger. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely sucks way more now than it did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I've had mine for 3 or 4 years now, and it seems like I load it into the back of my truck bed, and
Mhm.
it seems like every year it gets like more harder and harder on my body to do that.
Now, in Garrett's instance, it's because every year he puts more and more shit on his boat. So
yeah, true.
that
It's
dude
like a
carries a
300-pound
freaking
movie.
tackle shop and everything else that you never would need, but just
I
in
think that's
case.
the case with all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went minimalistic. Like because I'm a creek fisherman. Like but I've tried to like the only thing I take in like excess is like I'll take like 8 rods when I'm in the Hobie, where when I'm in the CK1 I take like 4. But I just get sick of unloading and picking up and moving. So I was like, I mean, for me, at the end of the day, when I go back and look at what I use, it's usually like 3 things anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
sounds
that,
about
yeah.
right.
It's the things that you tied on before you even left.
I've had a
usually
lot
what
of
you end up
those
using.
days where I don't retie. Like that's
Yeah.
why I take a lot of rods. It's like I don't want to.
Yeah.
Just got
But
the multiples of the same bait tied on. Like,
yeah.
Mhm.
But so again, like this is our first show covering out that way. Give us, whoever wants to, or y'all both can, break down these bodies of water. Like tell me like how they lay out. Are they deep? Are they shallow? Grass, lots of rock, ledges, just what makes them a little bit different than anything else we may have went over before.
Well, there's not a
It's
lot
kind
of
of a,
reservoirs around here. That's for sure. I think more of a natural lakes.
it's pretty.
yeah.
There's a lot of elevation changes and stuff, right? So there's a
Yeah,
lot of
so
natural lakes and streams and rivers.
yeah, it's a few thousand feet difference from the coastline to inland Washington.
Wow.
I mean, we've got the Columbia River that runs pretty much through the heart of Washington, and
Yeah.
it's dammed up, several
Several times.
times.
Yeah.
And that's where we were. I'm going to call you guys out for butchering the name of this place, but
Hey, go for it.
Lake Umatilla.
Hey, okay.
Umatilla.
So for me, when I read that, Umatilla was me saying it like a redneck, and
Yeah.
Umatilla
Yeah.
was grammatically correct.
Yeah,
So
you're putting a little bit
Umatilla.
too much Hispanic influence into the word. It's all Native
Get
American
back to your
words up
roots,
here. So,
Jimmy. It's
Yeah, get
but
back to
yeah,
the Native American.
so Lake Umatilla. I mean, it was a 70-mile stretch of the Columbia River. I mean, it's got everything from grass flats to rocky ledges, islands out in the middle of the channel. I mean,
yeah.
you
I've
could
seen.
fish pretty much what your strengths were. I mean,
Does
there's
it have
fish
like
through the whole
decent amounts
thing.
of current, or is it mostly just locked in place?
Yeah, it's if you're in the main channel. I mean, if they've got it open, you're maybe a couple miles an hour. I mean, it's usually not too bad. but if you're trying to move up river, you definitely want to be up towards the shoreline.
Gotcha.
You just tire yourself out unless you got.
Does it have a lot of like feeder waters coming into it? Just smaller creeks and tribs and runoff?
Tons of tributaries. I mean, the Snake River comes in just the pool above where we were. And then the Yakima River is another pretty large river right in that area. So I mean, it's basically every waterway on the east side of the state flows into that at some point.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a lot of water that comes through, but mostly a smallmouth fishery. There's definitely some holes that hold some trophy largemouth, but they're a little bit harder to find, and you kind of got to have access to a boat to really explore water to find those. It's pretty tough to do from a kayak, but.
So those like smallmouth and largemouth, are they stocked in there, or how did they get there? They're natural to there, is it?
It was the Native Americans. Were you not listening earlier? Jesus.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I know they're not stocked, at least not by the Fish and Wildlife,
regularly,
because they hate them up here. They want to.
Somebody probably illegally stocked them, and they just took off.
Yeah.
So they treat them more like an invasive.
Yeah, yes. Pretty much anything that has the potential to hurt the salmon runs is viewed as public enemy number one, which sucks for us bass and walleye guys, because that's the first targets.
You got the best one to catch for fishing fun and the best one to catch for eating. That's the only can't beat a walleye.
Nope. But to them, it's kind of a garbage fish. They pretty well removed all the limits off of them on the rivers. So
wow,
jeez, that's crazy.
So hopefully the population is strong enough to withstand the abuse they're going to take over the next couple decades. But
are they actively? Obviously, you said they move regulation, but are they actively doing like culls or anything to try and pull the smallmouth numbers down? Or
we've had a couple lakes here in the area that Citha and I are in that they've pulled gill nets through. They say it's for studies and stuff, but I mean, they're pretty aggressive with them. I mean, it's pretty hard to come back from a gill net. It's pretty much game over, but
interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's weird that it's like that they don't, because like out here.
Yeah, you try to do that out here, and they will string you up by your feet, buddy.
The culture is so much different.
No,
north to south when it comes to
any of the bass.
fishing.
Like if you touch them, they're like sacred ground around here. But
but
I guess if it's not
kind of
natural,
spotted bass out there at all?
No.
Like I know they don't naturally occur west of whatever, but
there's spotted bass in Oregon, in some of the lakes, but none in Washington, and I don't think there's any in Idaho. I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe that Idaho has.
Hey, if you want to get them off of your smallmouth chain, go drop a few thousand spots in there, and they will not worry about the smallies anymore.
Well, we're getting the northern pike in the river system, so that's kind of their new target, and fear, because those are pretty relentless.
Oh yeah,
they're pretty aggressive.
Well, cool. So for anybody that's new to this, the no limit side of the tournament, we've done a couple of shows about that. We had Vinny on to talk about it, but it's kind of how it sounds. Is it works as a more of like a major league fishing style total number winner, and there are hourly big bass winners. Each individual hour big bass winner can win $1,000, and then there were some great bigger grand prizes based off entries where they could, if your entries were high enough, you could get up to 3 giveaway boats, but this one only had the 1 giveaway boat. But we've kind of covered that. So let's kind of talk about it. I'm not really sure how to break it down both ways, because it was, again, as we said in the beginning, a concurrent event with a joint multi-club local style event, and that was just
was
a
a
best
5
5.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
Right.
So I guess we won't really dial into each of it till towards the end. So let's just talk about like y'all's pre-fishing and preparation for it. We'll let each of you talk about that. We'll talk about your tournament days, and then we'll just kind of go over the numbers at the end. So whoever wants to start.
I'll go first. I pre-fished Thursday and Friday. An area that I fished actually last year where we had our classic, which is the equivalent of a TOC for the Pacific Northwest here. So I kind of had an idea where the fish were. It was around the same time this year. I launched out of the Oregon side and checked out some contours that I've been looking at since they announced the tournament because I was pretty excited about this tournament. We did it last year in a pothole, so
Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways,
So I guess for anybody that doesn't know, that's the lake is split down the middle, basically, right?
right.
On Washington, the Washington side's on the north, and the Oregon side's on the south side, and it kind of runs right along the border.
Yeah, the river is the border of the two states on
Yep.
this section.
Oh, that's cool.
So I launched with a good buddy of mine that fishes off of a PA as well, and he said he'd go check out the Oregon side of the bank, and I was going to go to the other side since I saw some nice contours on the Navionics
Yeah.
app. And as soon as I got over there, I just saw bait everywhere. I mean, they were literally jumping out of the water, and but they were in the grass. And I from last year, I saw the same thing, and I didn't do too well trying to fish that grass. So I kind of stayed out of it for a little bit. I was in about, so I was a little bit outside of the grass line in about maybe 20 to 25 feet of water, and I just saw bait balls everywhere on my fish finder. And I was
What kind of forage do you have on that lake or in that river chain in general? Is it
there's a lot of perch. I'm not
perch?
sure what
Okay.
the small minnows are.
It's the American shad. They run
Okay.
earlier in the summer, and so now the babies are about 2-3 inches long. So
Huh.
that's what they're chasing out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So it's a
cool.
perfect bait fish for smallies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw bait balls everywhere, and I decided, well, what the heck? And I usually don't fish a drop shot. Um, I was like, what the heck? I'll just drop down and see what happens. Didn't even
Yeah.
hit bottom, and my rod starts going off. So I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. I take a quick picture just for a timestamp, just to kind of see. And so it's a river, and there's barely any current. I think the current was going about 0.4 miles per hour.
Okay.
And I'm still drifting above bait balls. I was like, okay, well, I'll drop down again. Drop down, same deal. Okay, well, mark that. And
Yeah.
basically, along that contour line, all the way, along the bank, I kept seeing the same thing. And so I was like, okay, well, I hope this is there on tournament day. So that
That
was
was
my Thursday.
Thursday that you found
That
that?
was Thursday, yeah. And that was
Okay.
probably about 2 hours into my pre-fish.
Wow.
And I was
Yeah,
like,
that didn't
okay,
take
well,
long.
yeah. I was like, well, all right. I think I got
Time to
something.
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right. Put in my work for this.
yeah.
I'm
So
done.
Friday, I go a little bit downriver more, probably a couple miles, just to check out another area and I didn't do too well. I didn't see the same thing that I saw on Thursday. So I was like, okay, well, I know where I'm starting on Thursday. Let's just hope nobody else is starting there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how my pre-fish went.
What stood out to you about these contour lines?
Well, it was right where it started just kind of dropping off. It was more like a ditch area where there was two contours that just kind of met.
Hmm.
Um,
Gotcha.
and I know it was not too, probably a good 10, 15 yards away from grass. And I know fishing from history the year before, that's where I was finding them. What was interesting was I didn't think there would be a lot of fish there because when I first got to the area, I didn't see a lot of boulders that I was looking for. I know previously the year before, I was finding them near boulders, and I was losing a lot of drop shot weights. So I bought a ton of those things, and I I didn't get hung up once, which was interesting. So yeah,
So when you say grass, do you know what type of grass it is?
I'm not sure what type of grass they were. Josh, do you know what kind of grass?
The kind that my hooks like. That's about all I know.
Sticky grass.
Yeah.
Sticky grass. I'll have to do some research on what kind of grass grows.
It's got a
there.
ton of arms, ton of hands. Just reach out, grab everything.
Yeah.
It's the worst kind.
Pedal drives,
Interesting.
grabs it all.
Hmm.
Well, Josh,
I had a battle with eelgrass all weekend on Gunnersville, and now I'm sick of that stuff.
If y'all don't have eelgrass, you need to experience it just once in your life.
It's terrible.
It's great when it's alive. when it's dead and floating, it is as bad as it gets. Like
If
it's
it
just
means I can
nasty.
come fish Gunnersville, I'll come experience it.
Man, I'll
Yeah.
tell you right now, you're not missing nothing. Like
No?
no,
Oh, I mean, it can be awesome if you're on them,
Yeah.
but if you're not on them, it's
like,
pretty tough.
and you can usually find a good fish even on a bad day, but that lake's just getting hammered back and forth,
Yeah.
and this is the worst year for eelgrass I've seen in a long time. Like we had floating eelgrass already in like March,
Mhm.
and now it's just, and I guess that means it's because they didn't spray well last year or something. I don't know, but it's just been, the fishing has not been as good there as normal. But yeah, still put it on your list. It's a great lake. If you
Yeah.
want to throw a frog, that's where you need to throw one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But tell us about your approach to pre-fishing.
It's gonna be a pretty short story. I went out with my family 2 weeks before the event,
Okay.
and we spent a short 6 hour window out there. We checked a spot based on my brother's previous fishing experience. Um, so we just kind of went out there, messed around. We did a little family tournament between the three of me, my brother, and my dad. Um,
Cool.
and my mom also fishes these tournaments, so we're the four Duggars that fish these tournaments. So,
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's really
but
cool.
yeah, so we went out. We fished the spot for about 6 hours. Caught a few fish, nothing that was a substantial pattern. But we also knew that the water temps were still pretty high for the pattern that we wanted to fish.
Mhm.
And we were really just banking on that water temp to drop just enough to kind of push them more into the fall mode versus the
Yeah.
the summer mode.
I was gonna say, are you guys still kind of in that fall transition a little bit,
Yeah.
or you started
What are your
moving more?
relative water temps like this summer temps?
So when we were out there 2 weeks before the event, the water temps were about 70, 71, which is pretty warm for the river.
That's
Um,
insane.
you go to the main
it's,
channel and it was,
it's 20 degrees shy of water here.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our lakes get up to like 80. I think 83 is the hottest I've seen, and that was on 108-degree days. That was our no
Wow.
limit last year. We were
Holy
fishing in
cow.
108, 110-degree weather. That was great, but
Yeah, that's
yeah,
brutal.
pre-fishing was pretty minimal. I don't typically do a lot of pre-fishing the day before a tournament. I just kind of run with what I know. My biggest fear is catching a monster the day before a tournament, and it
Can
worked out this
confirm.
time.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of mostly poked around, found some structure. I don't know how much I want to dive into it because those who know where I launched from know exactly what I'll be talking about. But
That's fine.
there's a there's a little ridge that runs out of there that I knew that they would be up on first thing in the morning feeding up shallow, and
Okay.
that was just kind of what I was banking on. We didn't find them when we were pre-fishing, but I was. I mean, there's nothing certain with fishing, but I was pretty sure that they were going to be there, and so that's what I was just
Just
banking
had
on.
like one of those gut feelings about it
Yeah,
and ran with it.
Fishing
pretty much.
instinct,
Yeah,
man. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
a part of the game, and we always talk about how it's mental, and then
yeah,
sticking with your gut, or the flip side of that, when you've stuck with your gut too much, and you got to tell yourself, okay, it's time to change the script, do
Yeah.
something different. But we'll just lead right into it. Let's get into the tournament. It's a single day tournament for both events. So here's a question for the both of you. So on one side, you're trying to win the best five, and on one side, it's like, well, big fish and $1,000 for an hour is great. Overall win is great. Did that affect how either of you approached it? Were you more so trying to just put together a really nice 5 fish bag, or did either of you just really focus on like a numbers game, like, a billion 15-inch fish?
um, I kind of just base it off what I saw and what kind of knowing that we were in that awkward summer fall transition mode. I knew that my best chance to catch any big fish was going to be first thing in the morning. So that was my plan: just go shallow, try to get as many big fish as I could, and then kind of head out to my offshore spots where I could pick up limits and just kind of see where I ended up. But ultimately, for me, it was mostly just targeting big fish. I mean, I started getting into throwing glide baits and big swim baits this year, so I'm like super addicted to that.
Yeah, that's an
Me
addictive
too, buddy.
So that's where I was headed for,
road to
just
go down.
trying to throw big baits, get on big fish early. If it kept going all day, that would have been spectacular, but obviously that's not how it worked out. But
Right. And then what about you, Citha? How did you approach it?
Well, thanks to my pre-fish on Thursday, I approached it. I mean, I went after both.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything big. I think my biggest on pre-fish was an 18-incher, but I knew I was on the quality, and so
And
I
you were on a
was,
lot of fish. Just
yeah, I was banking on catching quality fish and hoping one of those will count towards the hour, and it was enough. So, and my biggest fish ended up, being the biggest fish for hour number 2, I believe.
Very
heck yeah,
nice.
bonus grand. Can't
Yeah.
can't hate on that. Well,
Looks like there's a lot of like 18 to 17-inch fish on like mostly smallmouth, I guess.
there is so many
Yeah.
17-inch fish. Jesus.
yeah, it's like a cookie cutter size. That 16 to 18, they're
Mhm.
just everywhere.
Yeah.
Huh.
You got to sort through a lot of 10, 12 inchers that came 3 spawns later, but
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I caught just as many 13 and a halves
yeah.
as much as I did.
Here's an interesting fact that I just realized because I just went through all of this. There was one largemouth bass caught in this whole event.
Yeah, I think there
Let me
was
try to find it.
two,
Like there was 2.
but I
Yeah.
think
Two?
one was too small to submit to native. I think it was only to the OKBF, WKBF. But yeah, 2 out of like 508 fish were largemouth.
Yeah.
That's great. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
That's
interesting. I
awesome.
love it. So yeah, Josh, we'll let you get into yours, man. You caught. I'm gonna go ahead and get the picture ready, but tell us about your morning and your approach.
So took off out of the launch, and there was, I think there was 12 of us total that launched out of that same launch. And so, I mean, I'm in a dead sprint trying to get to where I'm going. And in a Titan 12, that's a lot of work for
About
three
2
and a
miles
half,
an hour.
3.5 miles an hour. It's a lot of work for that. Of course,
Can
I'm
you
going
use
upriver.
can you use motors and stuff in this event if you had
Yeah.
them? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just started allowing motors this year. So this is the first year with motors.
Okay.
We do a staggered launch. So motors have to launch 5 minutes after pedal drives, and paddle guys go 5 minutes before the pedal guys. So just
Talked about
try
that
to
in some of our
even,
local clubs, but
yeah, just try to
never.
even out the sprint at the beginning. But
One of
Yeah.
our clubs does that, and I did it one year, and it's not. I think it's perfectly fair.
Yeah.
Like it's and we did it actually from like a common launch, so it
Mhm.
still wasn't. It worked out great.
yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, you'll still get past if you're going way downriver or something, but
Yeah.
getting that initial launch allows you to kind of arrive at the same time and have an even shot at it. But yeah, so I'm in a dead sprint. I get up to that ridge I was talking about, and I just power pull down. I'm in like, I think 2 feet of water at this point,
Wow.
and on the back side of the ridge, it drops down into, I think, about 8-10 feet, and then on the main river side, it drops kind of slowly at first, and then it'll eventually get out to 25-30 feet and
Okay.
actually get into the main channel.
Does it have
Um,
current and stuff that goes over it?
no, so I'm kind of on the backside of the ridge is just kind of a backwater
Okay.
area, but I started my day with throwing a spook, just trying to get a topwater bite. I mean, there's fish blowing up all around us. I don't know what they were, if they were smallmouth, salmon, carp. I mean, everything's in there right now, so
Hmm.
Really not sure what was blowing up, but started with that. That 23-incher was actually the first fish I caught, which was 15 minutes into the tournament.
Yep,
I think it
gonna
was
show that one.
cast.
Start the day.
And you guys said at the beginning of the show, we're going to talk to two guys that have their stuff together, and that's farthest from the truth for this fish. But yeah, I went to cast out my spook, and I actually spooled my reel.
Oh man.
And found out at this moment that when I put line on the reel that I was too lazy to put any backing or piece of electrical tape or anything. So I'm just sitting there just trying to get the reel to engage and get this spook to move. And while that craziness is happening, I hear the blow up.
Oh no, it's just sitting out there,
and so I set the hook, and I have to watch this fish jump twice. And the first time it jumps, I mean, I see it. I'm like, this thing's a freaking whale. Like, it's jumping like it's a king salmon. Its tail walking on the surface. I'm like, just not even sure what's going on. I'm panicking at this point. And finally, that reel engages, and I'm able to get it in the boat. And once I put it down at my feet, I just stared at it. Couldn't breathe. I text my family group chat. I'm just like, I can't breathe.
Help.
Yeah, pretty much. I got it on the board, took a picture of it, and just I'm in disbelief that it's crossed the 23-inch mark. I mean, it's the biggest
Have you ever
smallmouth.
caught one close to that?
No, this beat my personal best by 2.5 inches, which is just absurd.
I mean, and down here, I mean, Tennessee's got good smallies. I mean, world record smallmouth came from Del Hollow Lake, but you don't hear about 21s.
No, it's very rare.
Pretty big, pretty
22-inch smallmouth gets caught. 21 or 22.
Yeah, 21s, 22s is usually where kind of the top threshold is for. I can't remember what the previous biggest smallmouth submission in our league has been, but this is now the biggest.
Did you
I got it on the board.
To maybe like weigh that thing, or did you feel like you knew how much it weighed?
I mean, I can throw a guess out there. I'm guessing it was low 5 or high 5s, low 6s. Wow. It was pretty thick across the back, but there was absolutely no belly to her, which was unfortunate. Right time of year, she might have been high 7s, low 8s.
Yeah, so you can say that's the curse of summer big bass. Is it's like all of my biggest fish have always came in the summer, and they've always been like an inch wide, but 23 inches long. So it's like a 4-pound monster.
Yeah, it sucks.
But
I had my scale right below my seat. There was just no oxygen going to my brain. I'm thankful I even got the board picture to submit. I took one selfie with it and threw it back, and instantly I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even get good photos of this thing. My brother's 100 yards away. I could have had him pedal over and take good photos of it, but it's just one of those things that I'll always regret. But got one pick at least.
So before we continue, is it safe to say that was that hour's big fish?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I know
that was that hour's big fish. Took the big fish of the entire event.
Yeah.
For both tournaments.
I don't think there was anything over.
I had 20. My second fish was the second biggest fish. Mm-hmm. So I threw the spook around for another 10 minutes after that. Had another monster blow up about 5 feet off the boat that bent 2 of the 3 prongs of the treble hook on my spook.
Jesus.
And so I lost it. So I don't know what that one was, but it was probably another 20 plus.
Oh, God.
At that point, with a broken hook, I was like, well, I'm going to go to a glide bait. I started throwing an S waver around, and I think it was 3rd or 4th cast with that. I got my second fish at 20.25. Continued fishing that.
Wait, so did you win another hour with that fish, or
nope? So this was 15 minutes later. This was at 6:30.
Dang.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the way it goes.
Yeah.
That's
and then, crazy though.
Kept fishing the glide bait, and I caught 4 more fish. I think it was a 17 something, a 17 something, a 16 something, and another 17. Somewhere in there, or maybe a 15. I can't remember exactly how it worked out, but within the first hour and 20 minutes, I had 94 3/4 inches for my best 5, which is just insane.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
at
crazy.
7:15. I've got 94 3/4, and so I
23
just
in your bag.
I'm with a 23. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I
feeling
could have
pretty
just
good at this
left
point.
after the first fish, dude. I would have just been like,
Yeah.
You know,
I'm out.
I really thought about it, but I'm like, the bite just kept going, so I was like, all right, well,
What kind of
and then
like glide bait patterns do you focus on out that way? Like I throw a lot of like shad patterns and bone color patterns out here.
so on the river, we I typically see a lot of um, either like salmon smolt or
Hmm,
shad,
okay.
or the bone color,
Yeah.
even like carp or pike, northern pike minnow patterns. Perch gets thrown quite a bit.
Yeah.
In our lakes, it's a lot more of like rainbow trout, bluegill, perch, kind of your standard swim baits.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, unless you're on the river, that shad isn't really something that they see. We got a
Okay.
lot of kokanee lakes up here, so kind of anything silvery trout esque
Yeah.
works pretty well. But
That's pretty cool.
but yeah, yeah. After that first hour and a half, it kind of died off for me pretty quick and aggressively. I probably stuck to that ridge and throwing that big swim bait for longer than I should have, but I was desperate to hold on to that bite for as long
Yeah.
as possible. So I think it was about 9 or 10 o'clock. I finally decided to just go ahead and leave it and move out deeper. And uh, I picked up a few fish. I think I upgraded once or twice, and um, ended up with my best 5 at the 95 1/4, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and then my no limit went for 186 1/4. So picked up quite a few fish, but nothing.
That's a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
I mean,
had
there's
4th in the
especially
no
for
limit.
yeah,
First in
especially
the KBF one or the OKBF.
yeah, especially for having 2 pretty big lulls in my day. I mean that
And
7:30
you can
to
afford to have
9:30.
that with a 23 in your bag.
Yeah.
That's true.
You need a second to just like gather yourself after that.
Oh, I'd
Oh,
need it a
I
lot
was
more
a
than a second.
mess. I was like hyperventilating for like 15 seconds, just trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do at this point.
Yeah.
But
Jeez.
you know, it's a it's potentially a fish of a lifetime. I hope not, but for up here, those 23s just they
Okay,
don't
for
come around too
anywhere,
often. Yeah.
Yeah, for
that's
anywhere,
a
really.
fish of a lifetime smallmouth. I hate to break it to you. Sorry you didn't get your good photos with it. But
It is what it is.
at least you have evidence. We had a guy at the paddle and fin tournament on Del Hollow last year catch one in pre-fishing that people saw, that like people that we trust's judgment, that were like 23 smallmouth all day. He had no board with him, and he did like the same thing. Like, he was
Jeez.
like, fantastic. Like, someone took a picture of it and he chucked it back in the water.
Oof.
Like, that was it. Like, that's the
Yep.
only evidence of that fish. And we're like, someone in the area had a measuring board. Why did you not? Like,
Yeah.
For
Someone
sure.
with some sense we gotta take a second to measure this thing.
well, that's awesome, man. Killer day. And like, congrats on the first overall with that one with 95 1/4 and 4th in the no limits. But well, let's turn the page now. I want to hear how Citha's day went, because it sounds like he can just drop a drop shot in and catch fish before it ever gets anywhere down to the bottom.
Yeah. No, I had quite a day. So I launched out with 5 other kayakers. I think before we launched, I knew everybody that was there, so we were all pretty good friends, and we were talking, and so we chatted a bit. I asked which way they were going. Are they going upriver, downriver? 3 of them were going upriver, so I was like, oh, perfect. Well, then I should have the spot to myself. And my pre-fish bite, if I remember correctly, didn't really start till about 7:30. So I headed straight down to my spot, probably about 100 yards off of it. There's a marker in the middle of the river, so I thought I'd start there, just outside some grass line. And I was having one of those mornings where, the drop shot, the braid would just wrap around the tip every time. Like every time I drop down, I'm like,
So frustrating.
yeah. So I'm sitting there for the first, 2 minutes, like just yelling at myself and not even realizing it. It's another kayaker just pulls up behind me, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not the guy I launched with. I was like, oh, I didn't think anybody was coming up this way. So I was like, okay, well, I caught, I think my first fish was like 5 minutes in. It was a little 12 1/4 inch. And then I caught two more, both 12 inches. I was like, okay, well, these aren't the fish that I'm looking for.
These are not
So,
the fish you're looking
so then I just went over. Yeah, the spot that I had markers for on Thursday were probably only about 50 yards where I was. So I just started going that way. And then before I could even get to the markers, I'm already seeing the same stuff that I saw on Thursday. So sure enough, they were still there. I should have took pictures of my fish finder because it was
Yes.
just spaghetti. And I was like, this, I've watched some YouTube videos of people showing, I have never really seen that until now, actually. I've always seen just bait fish on my fish finder, so this was kind of new to me. I was like, "Oh, it's got to be bass, right?"
At
it's
least you had the wherewithal to recognize what that
Mhm.
was.
and I'll tell you, I'm like you. Like you watch videos like Greg Blanchard, and it seems like he does that like once a video, and he
Mhm.
sees the spaghetti on his screen. I've had it happen one time, and that was the tournament, a tournament that I almost won. And it's like that just right there cemented that for me. Is like if you see
Yep,
that, stop and fish.
exactly.
Like
Yeah. So as much as I wanted to get to my markers, I was just like, "Well, I'm just gonna stop here." So, um, yeah. As soon as I dropped down, I was using 4.5 inch robo worm, morning dawn chartreuse tail.
oh
I
yeah,
had just picked up two packs at the tackle shop not too far away, and I ended up going through those pretty fast. So
Yeah, those
it
robo
makes me
worms
so
are
happy
very
to know that Morning
tough.
Dawn Robo Worms is like a national universal pick.
mm,
Like they work everywhere.
yeah,
Definitely smallmouth. They
The smallmouth up here hate them.
I
those are
literally do
Tear 'em
not
up.
own another color of Robo Worm.
yeah. Like it's just different variations of morning dawn are the only colors of
Yeah, Morning
like
Morning
Aaron's
Dawn
dawn.
Chartreuse,
Yeah.
Aaron's Morning Dawn,
mhm,
Aaron's
Yeah.
Morning Dawn with Chartreuse, and that is it.
yeah,
That's all you need.
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I just started catching quality. I think the first quality fish I got was a 14, and then I caught a few more 14s, and then I catch a 16, and then my wife calls me. And usually that brings me good luck. That cell phone bite, and that's
Yeah.
as soon as she calls and I answer the phone, that's when I hook up on that 18 3/4, and ended up being the big bass for hour number two. So
Very nice.
Nice.
can't beat that cell phone bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that, Josh, with your 20 that didn't count.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that bite, I just kept continuing. I like I said, that was for 2 hours, and I still haven't even got up to where I had marked fish on Thursday. So, and I look back at the competitor that came up on me. He was down a ways, so he wasn't coming up. I wasn't going down, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep staying this stretch. And basically, I was in a stretch of about, I'd say, 100 yards. I was just going back and forth. If I lost the bait ball that was on the screen, I'd just cast a jig out 30, 40 feet, just kind of feel for where they went. And as soon as I get a bite, I'd pedal over there real quick. As soon as I got my picture in, if it was scoreable or not, I'd get over there. The bait, sure enough, the bait ball's right there. Drop shot. And
That sounds like
if I'm fast enough, I can get two. I can get one, get a picture, get another one. And there were times where I was lucky. Fortunately enough, I'm drifting down and I'm drifting right over another bait ball. And I was like, "Whoa, this can't be happening. This
yeah.
I've never caught this much fish, in a short amount of time." And that bite lasted pretty much most of the morning. Um,
That's
yeah, and then
nuts. I've never not I probably will never experience that. Like that's insane.
yeah, and they were, I'd get a few small ones here and there, but I couldn't believe, how the quality of, I mean, the fish meant the 14-inch minimum. That's all I really wanted. So I was like, okay, well, I think I got a pretty good chance at this. Um,
Yeah, I'd
normally,
say.
normally the tournament day, I don't really check the the standings and whatnot. And about 11:59, I get a message from Josh, and he's like, "Dude,
Slow down.
400." So he said
I told him keep
400.
going. I'm like, hit that 400-inch mark, man.
Yeah, I'm sitting here like, I was like, wow, I must be pretty close, because it's funny because the last tournament that we had, he did something very similar where he's like, well, he did opposite actually. He said, "Slow down, you're making me nervous." And I was like, okay, well, I must be doing pretty good, and he must be up there. So, and then yeah, my bite died about 30. I didn't catch another fish for about 30 minutes or so, and then I was like, oh well, I might as well check to see where I'm at. The standings are off, but I at
Yeah.
least can still see what my total is, and I think I was about 340 something. And I was like, huh, okay, well, I only need to catch maybe 4 or 5 more fish. But I ended up catching only 2 more 16 inchers off of a jig, a Beast Coast PB&J
Nice.
with a
Football
Yamamoto
jig?
trailer. Yeah, football jig. Yep, half ounce. Yeah, so that was kind of my day, and I
Well,
kept.
how many fish was that total? So your total, just for anybody wondering, your total ended up being 374 3/4,
Yeah,
which is retarded. That is nuts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I fished the one that was on Gunnersville a few weeks ago, and I think it was 300 inches that won that one.
Hmm.
So that beat it by like 70 something inches.
Yeah, I think it was 24 inches or 24 fish. Sorry, that
Yeah.
was that I submitted.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think I only lost 2 fish throughout, which was amazing. One was on a drop shot. I didn't even see it, and the other one I was trying to net it. It was off of a jig, and I was just trying to net it as fast as I could, and it just popped off right at the boat. And I was like, oh.
Man, I would never normally say this, but man, you should hop in a boat and give the MLF Opens a run. Like, go give them a minute.
Ever since they
Like,
started that, I've been watching like every single episode, and I mean I've watched like that and Bassmasters pretty much all my life.
Yeah.
Like I said, I never really got into bass fishing because I kind of had a feeling that I would be buying a lot of tackle and rods, and sure enough, my garage is filled up real fast.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's a good problem.
Addicting.
yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Like, I can't fathom that. Like, I'm sure most of the people fishing this or listening to this that fish, we've all got on a good bite, following bait, but I've never had, like, how long would you say that period lasted where it was just like on like that? 2 hours, 3 hours?
I think 7 a.m. until about 11. I was still about 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
and
see, like, normally that's a flurry. It's like an
Mhm.
hour where it's like
yeah,
that.
I didn't even want to stop to go to the bathroom. I kept saying, "Oh, I'm going to get one more scorable, and then I'll go to the bathroom." And no, I'll sit there and just hold it as long as I could.
No, I'm just gonna pee on myself. It's fine.
It's
Yeah.
working, man.
Like,
Keep
it's
it.
just-
Fun.
that's insane, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Citha's total was actually the second highest
Yeah.
no limit winning total.
Like the only other
all-
one was like Saginaw
Michigan.
Bay or something like that.
Yeah, out in Michigan, I think the top 5 were all higher than him, but
Yeah.
apparently that's an extremely good fishery. So
yeah, apparently.
have to add that one to the
I
list.
think that's all smallmouth too. So
Yeah.
it's
Hey,
smallmouth
for me
dominate.
for this to be done in Oregon, which so y'all just learned about us, so y'all obviously haven't seen like our coverage. So what we do at the end of our show is we do a tournament recap where we go over, we search through TourneyX for any tournaments that had over 25 anglers, and we talk about them. We go over the winners and stuff like that. We see y'all's tournaments popping up, but we haven't had that opportunity to talk about it. And like, well, we do see good numbers at y'all's tournaments. It's like, it's still kind of like unheard of to hear like this quality of fishing. So to, maybe second biggest overall, or, but I think it's more impressive where it came from.
Right.
That,
Because I mean, you
almost
had
400.
this year alone, they fished like Gunnersville, the Susquehanna. What else did
Mhm.
they fish?
The Carolinas.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Carolinas.
New Melones out in California.
Yep.
They had that Saginaw Bay one. And then next up is Lake Fork, I guess. So we'll see how it holds up against Lake Fork.
And see, Lake Fork, I think, will be one that'll have high inches, but it'll be fewer fish.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
When we went to Lake Fork, it's like you didn't catch anything under 3 pounds. Like
Jeez.
I think I call it. I think it was a 16 and a half on a frog that was
They might need
3.5
to
pounds.
bump the minimum up on that one
Yeah,
to like 16 inches or something like
yeah.
that.
Like Lake Fork's just a different animal. Like it took me a minute to figure anything out, and I did have a terrible tournament day. But like when you catch fish out there, they're not small. Period.
Yeah.
And the gators are bigger.
Yeah,
It's one thing
wildlife
we
is
don't have up here, and I love that.
I was
Yeah.
fixing to say when you were talking about float tubes, I was like, yeah, it's a lot easier to do up there because nothing's trying to eat you.
yeah.
Like, not down here. Even in Alabama, where I'm at, North Alabama, we've got alligators all over the Tennessee
Mhm.
River right here, and I ain't about that life. I mean, I like seeing them; they're cool, but I'm good.
Not in a kayak.
Yeah,
I'll
no.
pass.
I've seen too many. Bailey Egbert had a little
Oh,
recap
yeah.
video he posted this week from I can't even remember where they were at, but one of the tournaments this year where he probably had like a 10 or so footer just blow up off the bank straight towards him. You can see the weight come at the boat and then go under, and he's just like, nope, just
Yeah,
takes off.
absolutely not.
Like I remember seeing one of Christine last year getting chased out of the
That one
back of
was
a bucket.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one
was
was
terrifying.
yeah, and I love like no knock against her. I love it because it's perfect time for like, what she did. She's like, that's why you have a Torquedo 1103. To be real, that thing would have caught you if he wanted to. I've seen them things run against boats like
30
17,
mile an
20
hour.
miles an hour. Like
Yeah.
that he didn't want you. But well no man, we hit that hour mark and we don't want to keep y'all too long, but we appreciate y'all coming on. It's been great. Y'all getting to give us some insight on y'all's area and how well the tournament went. Fish of a lifetime,
It
a
seems
limit
like
of a lifetime, in my opinion, to just
yeah.
because of the day you had 4 hours to catch that many fish.
Mm.
I don't know. That's just insane to me to think about because you may hear some guys talk about it, but they're usually going through like just dinks. Like you get on a school and you catch those aggressive 10-inch, 12-inch bass, but to just constantly be catching those fish that you needed for these limits, and again, you got first in that one, and you got I think it was sixth, sixth in
Yes.
the joint tournament.
Mhm.
So collectively, y'all both y'all won some money, and you got a boat.
Yeah.
Got your new kayak, which is always cool.
Yeah.
Hope it gives you some good use or pads your pockets a little more if you decide to get rid of it. But
It seems like it was a great fishery. I think that's something that's cool
Yeah.
to hear about. Is like on the 5 fish event, you had like how far down was it? All the way down to 57th place had limits out of 80 something anglers,
nice,
over
nice.
half the field. And there's a lot of like, I think I had 10 people with 85 inches or something like that, or so around that 85-inch mark.
So maybe something that can be taken away from this for the people that do listen to this is maybe get in the ears for Bass and Hobie, AJ and Steve, and try to get a national trail out that way. Because I mean, y'all had 80 people show up for it, so the support's there locally, and then you've always got the handful of local guys that are just willing to drive anywhere in the country to do. Or I say local, sorry, national trail guys that are willing to drive across the country for it. It'd be cool to see a Hobie or a Bass event out there.
It'd be sweet. I mean, we've
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
got the fisheries for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our best fishery is bordered with Canada, and so
I
we only
agree.
get half of the lake.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
So, but that one's just absurd. I mean, we fished that last year, and I think we had 19 smallmouth over 19 inches caught with
Wow.
I
What
think
is that? What is
25
that?
people.
What fishery is that?
It's Lake Osoyoos.
Yeah, I'd never have pronounced that one.
OSOYOOS.
Okay,
Mhm.
I see it.
Uh,
It's like half of it's in Canada and the
Yep.
southern half's in Washington.
Yep. So that border still exists. So
Yeah.
That's
you know,
stupid.
our permitting doesn't allow us to, go over there in tournaments. But if you're just up there fun fishing, I believe you can go over. You just can't beat yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
but
Well,
yeah,
that's awesome, man.
that's an absurd fishery up there. But
Yep.
we've definitely got a few that could hold a big tournament like that. So,
Heck yeah.
and
Well,
we've got 200 plus members in our Kayak Fishing Northwest, which is the Idaho, Washington, Oregon. So
Wow.
we've got people up here. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
timing obviously didn't work out.
Yeah.
You know, we're battling
Sounds
big
like they
game
need
hunting
to get with
seasons,
that.
and
Get
Oh,
with
yeah.
that trail and try to do some kind of joint event.
Yeah.
With
It'd be cool.
like Bassmaster or Hobie up there.
heck yeah.
That'd be cool.
Well, before we let y'all cut out of here, this is the part of the show we always like to give the guests a chance to shout out, any sponsors or anybody that makes this easier for you. So, whoever wants to start, go right on ahead, man. Floor is yours.
You can go start.
All right. Well, first of all, Native Watercraft. I joined their team this year. They've been pretty great working with us up in the Pacific Northwest. Also, Yak Rods. Yak Rods is a local company here in Idaho. Makes some fantastic gear.
I've seen some of their stuff. They make some pretty cool rods.
Yeah, I've been using their swim bait rod a lot, the big Bofo, and if you enjoy throwing big swim baits, that's a good one to pick up.
Yeah.
And then Henley Custom Lures. I'm sure you guys know who Cody Henley is. He's a pretty popular guy on the national scene. But
Yeah. Hammer.
my brother and I are, big supporters of him. And ZR Custom Tackle. He's another local jig and spinner bait, buzz bait maker up here in Idaho as well. And then Shelter Hats is another big shout out. I heard on one of the last couple episodes, someone was looking for a wide brim hat sponsorship. They need to check out Shelter. I can't remember who
Shelter?
it was, but Shelter Hats.
I will look
Oh,
at.
that might have been Jordan Marshall.
I was going to say,
It might have been, yeah. I think it was that Gunnersville recap. Actually.
Yeah.
So
He
tell
always
him to
wears
check
those
them out.
big sun hats or whatever when he's fishing.
Yeah, they've got a nice no flop brim, so it fits just like a ball cap, but it's got the full 360 brim.
That's
breathes
cool.
well.
I'm gonna have to hit these guys up because that's like, I love those hats. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is it called again?
Shelter hats.
Looking it up right now.
Nice.
They make gaiters and gloves and shirts and stuff too.
Those are cool.
Sweet. Was anybody else or?
That's it for me.
That's it for you.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, what about you, man?
Well, for me, just bring shout out to my wife really for dealing with me being away from home.
Hey, shout out to your wife for calling you at the opportune moment.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You just lay the smack down.
So just this drive for me was about 4 hours. So and I actually made the drive back after the tournament, so got back close to midnight. So that was quite a drive. But I mean, yeah, I couldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for her. I have 2 dogs at home, and one is pretty young, and she just watches over them. So,
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and the other, shout out to Marvin from KFNW for putting this together. He's really putting in the work to try to bring some more sponsors and whatnot here into the Pacific Northwest. Like I said, like Josh was saying, we're about 2-3 years behind, and I started kind of when this kind of all started too, and we've been trying to build since then. And it's definitely every year it's getting bigger.
Heck yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a huge outdoor scene out that region anyway.
Well, and I think that's kind of what puts it kind of slow on the fishing side is because as Josh went to it, the big game, trout, the saltwater, like there's so much other that's just so like a much bigger entity out there. And like I said, like for us, like we don't even think bass fishing when we think that far. When I think Midwest, I think trout fishing or stuff like that. But I've been doing this long enough, doing this recap show. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I can see the patterns and growth across the country. And it's definitely been that way. Like y'all, the Canada groups, like it's definitely getting bigger. So that's awesome. And, hopefully it continues to get bigger. I'm hoping that the national scene starts to include the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest. You got other great tournament entities too. We've got, I don't know if y'all have seen the news about the new River Series thing that Drew Gregory and them are starting up. I know that it will eventually make its way that way because of how they're running it, looking for, scenic riverways with historical places around and stuff like that. And then you've
that'd
got
be a cool place for them to go.
I
absolutely.
would say the Columbia River would be
Yeah.
great for that.
Then you got the All-American Kayak Series that does mostly like the north central kind of stuff, but they've had their hands around and expanding and getting word out too. So I think it's just going to continue to grow, as long as the country doesn't fold up too soon. I think kayak fishing will be doing just fine.
Yeah.
It's on its way.
Yep.
That's right.
And I gotta
Well,
say,
awesome.
I've been looking at these hats since we talked about it out there.
Hey, I got a link for you.
All right. Yeah, hit
Nice.
me up with that link.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, again, guys, we appreciate y'all coming on. We don't want to take any more of your time up, but congrats again, and hope you
Thanks for
enjoyed it.
having
We
us.
definitely enjoyed having y'all on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
for
good
having
having
us.
you guys on.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yep.
Awesome. We'll see y'all next time, and good luck with the rest of your year.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, peace. Nice. Did you already order one of those hats?
I'm working on it, trying to figure out what size I need to get.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're cool.
Heck yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and roll into our tournament recap because I got
We got a lot this time. It seemed
got a
like
couple
there was
pages into the
Yeah.
season, so we've got everything kind of closing up. You got classics and state championships and stuff like that. So first up on the list, the NACA Classic on the Tennessee River chain. So this is my club's the classic at the end of the year. They did it from Pickwick Dam to Nickajack Dam, and 2-day tournament. And they did it. It's not listed on here, but they did it like it started, I think, on Friday at midday or something like that. I can't remember, but it goes all the way through like a normal tournament hours on Saturday.
Yeah.
But 36 anglers in that one. First place, Randall Wallace with 97 3/4 inches.
No surprises there.
Nope, and I guarantee you it was on Gunnersville.
Yeah. I think
second-
some people that fished this Gunners one of the events you're going to talk about saw some of those NACA guys out there
Oh, I'm sure of it.
hammering fish.
Oh yeah. Second place, Josh Tanner, 93.5. Congrats to Josh. Josh ended up taking home the Coosa X that Dugout donated as well to random draw. And then third place to David Mayfield, 91.25. And congrats to him for finally winning AOI because he's come close like a lot. But he sealed it up this year with that third place. Next up, here's a little bit of a different one, the Hobie Fishing European Championship on Lake Umatilla in Sweden. Pike, perch, and zander, 44 anglers, 6 fish limit per day. First place stands Slora with 647 combined centimeters. Sounds like a lot, I guess. Second place,
Can
Florian
convert that for you real
Leonard.
quick?
If you can.
Was it
647 centimeters.
254 inches?
Nice.
Yeah.
So 254 inches?
Yeah.
Over 6 fish?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay, I'm going to have to look these up and see what kind of fish these are. I mean, I know what pike and perch are, and I know perch aren't that big.
But there might be some giant pikes, though.
Yeah. Second place, Florian Leonard with 645. Third place, Robin Eckwall with 621.
42-inch average.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, the Bluegrass Kayak Anglers is Cedar Creek Lake. 37 anglers, 5
I love
fish.
that place. I wish I could have fished that.
First place, Adam Shepard with 93 inches. Second place, Paul Averill with 89 3/4. And third place, Dustin Feig with 87.5. Moving on from there, the Queen City kayak anglers on Lake Murray, 100 anglers in this one. Their covenant 4-fish limit. First place, Jeremy Heath was 73 and a quarter, barely beating out second place. Nick Huddleston with 73 inches. Third place, Robbie Sinker with 71 and a quarter. Next up, the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail Tri-Lake event on Buckhorn. Chimon, Pigeon, Upper Buckhorn, Little and Big Bald Lakes. That is more than 3. 2-day tournament.
Yeah.
They call it Tri-Lakes.
Lake.
That's, yeah. 2-day tournament, 104 anglers in that one. First place, Chris Boyd with 172.5. Second place, John Dean with 168 and a quarter. And third place, John Fulford with 168.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get one of those on sometime.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like that's like their last event, so maybe we'll try to get somebody from that one.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on, the clash on the Juniata River. The kayak anglers of Laurel Highlands versus the kayak anglers of Central Pennsylvania. 33 anglers. First place, Josh Sims, 92 and 3/4. Second place, Scott Hoover with 91.5. Oh, this is the one that me and old Lord, I just drew a blank. Me and the noob, Sean, who we were talking about last week. This is the one he was going after.
Oh, okay.
Ryan Reardon, third place with 90 and 3/4. Congrats to those guys. Have to hit up Sean and see how he did. Next up, the Tennessee Bass Nation Kayak State Championship on Lake Gunnersville. 2-day tournament, 90 anglers, 5-fish limit.
Why you got to bring this one up?
I know it. First place, Ethan Jett with 188 inches. Second place, Jordan Marshall with 187 and 3/4. And third place, Corey Racer with 186 and a quarter. And not up there on that list, Garrett Johnson.
No, not even close. But what was really cool is that Ethan and Jordan was first and Ethan was second at the native event a couple weeks ago, and they flipped in this one.
Oh, that's cool.
They battled each other two events in a row, and Ethan got him this time by a 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a tough one for me. I was just not in it, but there was a lot of good fish caught in that one. I think all the way down to 12th place had 90 inches or something like that out of 90 anglers.
Nice.
All the way down to I had 76 something on the first day, and I was in 39th place. I was like,
good fishing, man.
Yeah.
So next up, the kayak anglers of Western Pennsylvania, the River's Edge Steel City Classic. Lower Allegheny and Kiski Rivers, 57 anglers. First place, Drew Gregory jumped in on that one, 88.5. Second place, nice. Adam Milstead with 84 and a quarter. And third place, Jeffrey Rabbit with 81.5. Next up, the Badger State Kayak Championship in La Crosse. 2-day tournament. Saturday was pool 6 and 7. Sunday was pools 8 and 9. 40 anglers. First place, Joshua Gouger with 171 and 3/4. Second place, Chong Vang with 163.5. And third place, Todd Martins with 161. Next up was the Wisconsin Bass Nation State Championship, also La Crosse. Same exact results as the previous. So congrats to those guys again. It's not often that the standings stay exactly the same.
Was it the same amount of anglers and everything?
Yeah. Well, no, it's different. So only 27 anglers, but same first, second, and third.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So congrats to those guys on double podiums. Next up, the kayak anglers of Missouri Trail Stop number 7 on Mark Twain. 39 anglers. First place, John Stickley with 73.5. Second place, Christian Blaine with 71 and a quarter. And third place, Brian Kelly with 71 and a quarter as well. Next up, the Bass and Kayak Fishing Club on Toledo Bend. First place, 26 anglers. First place, Jason Housey with 87.5. Second place, Kaylon Johnson with 87 and a quarter. Third place, Edward Baroque with 79 and 3/4. Just
on
a few
Toledo
more.
Bend?
Yep.
Those are kind of low limits, I guess, for Toledo Bend.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'd imagine more in the high 90s for
that. Moving up from there, the Kayak Anglers Association of Central Arizona on Roosevelt Lake. 29 anglers. First place, Daniel Martin with 80 and a quarter. Second place, Patrick Talibus with 79 and a quarter. And third place, Don Hill with 72.5. Moving on from there, we will hit the River Runners event at Chopetonk and Tuckahoe Creek in Maryland. 28 anglers. This was a tough one. First place, Becky Robinson, the only angler to catch a limit with 63 and a quarter for 5. Second place, Gordy Killen with 55 and a half, and third place, Matt Littleton with 52. And last up, the Urban Angler Club in Puddingstone Lake out in California. It's small watercrafts, shore anglers, boats under 14 foot, no gas motors, float tubes, kayaks, and canoes. 35 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Jonathan DeMonet with 86 and a 3/4. Not a new name that we see on these lists. Second place, Jeff Bolin with 72 and 3/4, and third place, John Toscano with 68 and 3/4. And that is it for tournaments last week. Fun show. Glad to talk to some Pacific Northwesterners. Hear about some awesome fishings and some freaky fish. Big old 23-inch smallie. And
it's a massive smallmouth anywhere in the
monster.
country. But it's cool to hear about a healthy fishery too. That's
a healthy fishery that nobody wants there. That's insane.
Yeah,
like blows my mind. But
it'd be nice to be able to go out and do that on some of our lakes. Sometimes it seems like they just get destroyed, and you can't even buy a bite sometimes.
Heck yeah. Well, folks, we appreciate y'all coming in with us this week. We hate to jump out of here so fast, but you've been with us for an hour and 22 minutes at this point. And if we stay on here too much longer, it's not going to upload correctly to our other platforms. So with that, it was good talking to you. We appreciate you. Bye. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. Goodbye.
Come back next time.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all listening. And for all of our new listeners, if you're coming to us from the Pacific Northwest, thanks to these guys that we just had on. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Be sure to subscribe, follow, share us all podcast platforms, YouTube and Facebook, and hear more of this if you like tournament recap, or check out our other shows. If you're getting into the kayak fishing, you do a little saltwater, you want to hear about a little area, some stuff to do around where these tournaments are being held, we've got all that coverage here on the Paddle and Fin Network. But until then, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Yep.